Hello, Steve at Trekboy89 for Steve Outs 89. Well, we finally have some good news about Star Trek. Apparently, one source, one Star Trek YouTube or science fiction YouTube channel is saying that Skydance is actually the better choice. Because when I first heard Skydance was putting in a bid for Star Trek, I was concerned because they've already worked with Bad Robot and Kurtzman, and I just assumed that they liked him and liked what he was doing with Star Trek, and that they would basically just allow him to keep going on, and there'd be no changes, there'd be no shake-up, there'd be nothing coming positive from the buyout or merger or whatever was happening with Paramount. But apparently that wasn't the case. When this Bronfman guy, what his name was, made a last-minute bid, which does seem very dodgy, and apparently he's got a bit of a reputation. So he apparently met with some of the showrunners and managers and people involved in Paramount at the moment, and basically sort of told the ones that he liked that don't worry, we're going to leave you alone and you're just going to be able to keep on going as you were before. And one of them was Kurtzman. He said, apparently, I'm a fan, I love the show, I love what you're doing, you know, when I own Paramount, you'll be able to just do what you want with no one you know, interfering, and it's going to be business as usual, and you'll have a free reign, which is the worst possible thing that could happen with Star Trek now. So it's a good thing that his last minute bid didn't work, and he's out, and now Skydance is buying or taking over Paramount because they don't like Kurtzman apparently. And again, this is rumour from some other Star Trek channels and sci-fi channels, and the rumour is that they didn't like working with him before. They don't like the direction he's taken Star Trek in, and they don't like one person sort of being in control of Star Trek and sort of doing their version, because they feel it's alienating Star Trek from other fans in other areas of the fandom by focusing on different areas, like he has been. And this makes sense. That the best choice for Star Trek now is for Paramount to take it back in-house and just produce Star Trek for Star Trek fans, not try to chase the general audience, not try and do a million different shows and different genres and different formats to appeal to every sort of person of the general audience and the general science fiction sort of audience. That's what Kurtzman's been trying to do. It's like, well, we can't make Star Trek fans happy because that would take work, and he felt that would be limited because Star Trek fans are a niche entity, but they always have been, but they've always shown up and shown the kind of support that the show needed to survive, whereas the general audience, you may get the general audience to watch a movie or a show, but they're not going to follow it and support it like real fans will. There may be more of them, but it's not the same. So they really need to just focus Star Trek on Star Trek, being Star Trek for Star Trek fans, and take it in-house and not have someone else in charge and have it be their version of Star Trek that they have their own interests and bias involved in, which Kurtzman does, which is sort of a problem. I like his focus on diversity, representation, and all of that. That's very important in Star Trek, and he's taken that seriously. But it's the only thing he sort of recognises about Star Trek, and the only thing that he's managed to maintain or promote. All the other elements of Star Trek that worked and made Star Trek great, he has gotten rid of or abandoned or had no awareness of. So him being in charge has really hurt Star Trek in the long term. Well, will it hurt Star Trek in the long term? Certainly hurt it in the short term. And no anyone can claim that Kurtzman's era hasn't been divisive, and that fans like myself have had problems with it, and that is a problem, because you can't come in, alienate the established audience or some of the established audience in favour of a potential new audience. That never comes, because there are some people who do like the Discovery era shows, but they're more general science fiction fans who, if they stop making that, they'll just go somewhere else. They don't have any loyalty. They don't actually follow Star Trek. They don't spend money on it. They don't buy merchandise. They just it's just sort of content to them. So they need to stop focusing on those people and start going back to focusing on people like me, who used to spend a lot of money on Star Trek, and I haven't really spent any money on Star Trek in the last 6 years. Aside from the Star Trek, the motion picture, 4K release, and a couple of DVDs, admittedly, of Strange New Worlds and Picard. That's pretty much all I've bought in the last few years, and those were all just recent purchases. So yeah, they need to get people like me back and start making Star Trek for us instead of just chasing the general audience, because they're never going to get it. And even if they get them for one event or one series or something, they're never going to keep them because they're not really fans. They really just they're just looking for entertainment and content, and they'll just find it anywhere. So yeah, so good news. It sounds like the people at Skydance, they do want to shake Star Trek up a little bit and bring it back in-house and bring the focus back to Star Trek for Star Trek fans, instead of letting Kurtzman just do his own little universe for his own IP and merchandising empire that he's trying to put together, because that really doesn't serve them or the fans. So hopefully that's the direction it goes in, but they won't admit any fault or any redirection. We'll just have to wait and see what they actually do and what we actually get, but we'll see.